Steven.
Yo.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
It's pretty much how it goes. Is how are you a question? Is it a greeting? It's definitely a huge part of our culture, so what do we do with that? In this video, I'm gonna invite you, in a very nuanced way, stop asking how are you? That sounds harsh. If you choose to tune into the video, you will leave with your brain forever rewired in a really beautiful, positive way with a better adaptation to that question, a better method of asking that question, and also a more realistic invite that's not so intense about stop asking, how are you? The inspiration, honestly, for me to record this video is that it's kind of like, I'm in this personal wrestling moment with it right now. This idea of how are you, because Will, like co-founder, co-author of Ask Powerful Questions, one of my best friends. I spent more time with Will some weeks than I do with Kate. Passed away several months ago, a few months ago at this point. And with really good intentions, I've received a lot of questions, and many of them are verbatim, how are you doing? And it prompted me to record this video because they're asked with really good intention, but I think a lot of times somebody says, how are you doing? The way that it was asked to me, whether it was over email or message or in person, was with the assumption that my answer would be bad. And so I think first of all, like one of the adaptations when we ask that question is if we just inject like 8% more genuine curiosity into that question, and then the key here is be totally open and unattached to somebody's response. Because I would have loved to have been able to answer that question, how are you doing, with actually pretty good. Because there were moments, even though somebody who was immensely close and important to me passed away recently, there were moments where I was doing great. And there were moments that were difficult, and there were moments that were all in between. But I think when we ask questions, we've got to open them up to make them truly neutral. There's a woman whose name I can't remember right now, who talks about clean language or clean questions. I think there's some power in that, the idea that when we talk, can we remove our preconceived opinions, judgment, etc., and just ask a really clean, how are you? So that's one little adaptation. One of my mentors, Eric Tyler, who's the author of a book called The Best Advice So Far, every time he would ask me, how are you? And I would say, good, just like Steven did in the beginning of this video. He would respond quite immediately with, and what's good about it? Or if I said, how are you? Fine. What's fine about it? How are you? Great. What's great about it, right? He had this like stock response that was a follow-up. And so the first adaptation of this question that really breaks a conversation rut and kind of wakes people up is when you ask, how are you? Because let me be real clear up front. I ask, how are you to people all the time. And oftentimes I'm passing a neighbor while I'm walking my dog and they're walking their dog and I'm like, how are you? Don't really need a half-hour dialogue right then, right? So I think it's fine to keep using it as a greeting, but when you invite somebody over for dinner and you're checking in with them and you ask them how you're doing, what if you had a really beautiful follow-up ready to go, which is hearing their answer and saying, what's fine about it? Because what happens is when they say good, their brain is sleeping. And when you ask them what's good about it, their brain has to wake up. Questions are really good at waking up the prefrontal cortex, but because we've been asked, how are you so much, it doesn't wake us up. And so you've got to have a quick follow-up waiting to lob over to wake somebody up. Second adaptation came from a personal experience. I'm in a group with two other really brilliant women and successful authors. And one of them, his name is Emma McQueen. When we started out our time together, right, we were like pretty like achiever kind of people. We get together and we're like talking about work and the behind the scenes of our business and that kind of stuff. And Emma said, hey, as some connection before content, can we just start off with how are you -really? How are you really? And I've been asked that before, I've asked that before, and yet 10 minutes into that conversation and answering that, I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't actually really talked with somebody about how I was really doing in a while. Not like a real long while, but a while. And so it was extremely cathartic to share, like, here for me really right now, what's going on. And so if you know someone, you have some rapport with them, see what happens when you bump into them or the next time they pop into your office. See what happens if you say, how are you really? One little word totally changes the intention. In fact, it infuses additional intention into that question. Obviously, your tone changes that question too. Now we need 7 alternatives. So this lovely human being, Cat Velos, has a calendar, which I only have the digital version of right here. So we'll put up a picture of it. Really lovely calendar because she's got a question for like some 12 common questions we tend to ask for each month. And then each day is a different alternative to that question. So without really being too choosy, I'm just gonna read a handful of off because what month is this? I don't know what, maybe January is alternatives to how are you? It's good to hear your voice. Interesting, what if we just didn't ask a question? What if we actually just made a statement? Did anything make you smile today? Or me and Will would wanna change that to what made you smile in the last 2 weeks, right? Open up that question a little bit. I really appreciate you. What's on your mind today? I like the version, what's taking up lots of your brain space lately? I've been using that question a lot. I actually asked Steven that this morning. Steven is behind the camera. You can't see Steven. I can see Steven. Okay, we got it. How have you been sleeping? Is there anything you need right now? I'm glad that I know you. What's your day been like so far? Is there any, oh, I already said, is there anything you need right now? Maybe that's your warning or your disclaimer to check in with the people around you and see if there's anything they need. I don't know if that's 7. If it's not, go buy Kat's calendar. It's quite lovely. It's hanging on my wall and it's a really fun way to just check in and mix up the conversation ruts that we often wind up in. If you want to continue doing that, you want to have more intentional conversations, there's a free excerpt to me and Will's book, Ask Powerful Questions, in the link below, wean.me/free. Give you a free excerpt along with a whole bunch of other tools that are designed to make connection really easy.